Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today are brought to you by our friends at the Waddling Dog. One of Victoria's historic watering holes welcomes you to come see why they're the talk of the peninsula. The Dog is the place to be for all NFL playoff action, including a Super Bowl party February 12th. Also, swing by their attached liquor store to pick up your Donnie and Dolly swag. There are countless reasons to come, sit, and stay at the Waddling Dog. There were some issues. Do we have Craig Button now? TSN Scouting Director Craig Button joining us as he often does on a Tuesday. Craig, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I am really good. Hey, Rick, what do you think of the shirt?
I love it. Oh, this is week 2 in a row. Beautiful.
Yeah, this is a hiking shirt. It's a Lululemon hiking shirt.
Oh, yeah, I know you love Lululemon. You absolutely
colors.
shop there. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
So I knew you'd like this shirt. This shirt is for you, Rick.
Are you going hunting later, Craig?
It's a hiking shirt, dog.
Hiking, not hunting. Okay. Hey, well, I don't know. What should I ask you, Craig? What do you think?
Oh, climbing up the mountains?
Oh, yeah. I'm aware of what hiking is. What do you think we should talk about, Craig? How about Bo Horvat and your reaction to the trade?
What trade? Something happened with Bo? No kidding. Listen, I think we can get into the forensics of how this unfolded with respect to, the untenable situation with Bo Horvat and the Vancouver Canucks. I think that's for another day. But, what I will say is this. I think that the Vancouver Canucks, given the situation with Bo Horvat, it was better for them to find a deal that was satisfactory to them and move forward. Because when you have this lingering, and everybody's wondering, okay, when's Bo going? When's he going? Is today the day? Is tomorrow the day? That doesn't help anybody. And Rick talked about the anxiety the players might be feeling. Well, it's no different here. And I think that, number one, the Vancouver Canucks addressed it. Number two, Atu Ratu to me, he's a lowercase Bo Horvat type player. So, you're getting a player on an entry-level contract. He's going to be able to play 2 years on an entry-level contract. And, managing your salary cap is really important. But Atu is a really good, solid two-way player. He's not a first-line player, but he's a player that can give you, really, really good production in a lot of different areas. Penalty killing, power play. He'll chip in offensively and really fit in nicely with a group. Gives you a little bit of different look and gives you some size. Mathieu Beauvillier is what I call a Swiss Army knife. You can move him in a lot of different areas on the ice. He's quick. He's fast. That's another area that the Vancouver Canucks have been looking to add to is their speed and their quickness. And Anthony is both of those things, and he's really smart. So I think you can put him in a lot of different spots. And we'll see what happens with the first-round draft pick and where it goes from there. But I think that probably the second part of this is, you look at the Vancouver Canucks' biggest weakness, and it's on the blue line. Yeah. So, obviously they weren't able to get a defenseman in return for Bo Horvat. But, with the number of forwards they have, and they have good forwards, and they have different types of forwards, I think that as you accumulate those types of players, now you can look to, okay, how do we address our biggest problem, our biggest weakness, which is on the blue line, and find defensemen? Because that's where the Vancouver Canucks have to be always looking towards. So you make this move, and what does it mean in terms of what you can do in acquiring those defensemen? I think those are the next steps, and that's where the next part of the evaluation of this trade will come from.
Hey, Craig, somebody told me last night Lou Lamoriello would never make a trade like this without having an inkling that they could sign Bo to an extension, and already talks today, they're talking to both sides. How important is that for Lou to get Bo extended long-term in New York?
Well, I think for Lou, the short term is to ensure that you strengthen your team for a playoff push, and I think that Bo absolutely gives the Islanders that ability. I mean, they're good defensively. They needed some offensive punch, and I think Bo will help them there. It takes some of the pressure off of Matt Barzal, off of Brock Nelson, off of Anders Lee. They just were not getting enough deeper into the lineup. But Bo will address that. Secondly, to your question, Rick, I think that there's no question that Lou understood what the parameters of a potential deal for Bo Horvat might look like, what they may be. And I'll be straightforward. I'll be shocked if Lou Lamoriello doesn't sign Bo Horvat to an extension, whether that's 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever it may be. And much like when he traded for Jean-Gabriel Pageau, a very similar situation happened with respect to Pageau being an unrestricted free agent or a pending one, and then Lou tied him up. And I like I said, I'll be shocked if Bo Horvat, Lou Lamoriello doesn't get Bo Horvat signed long term.
Absolutely. Everyone's expecting it. Okay, Craig, listen, this is Vancouver, so we're not done with rumors. You got that?
Okay.
Demko's name is popping up. He's 27 years old. He's had a tough year. He's coming off, the injury. It's been wide. His name's been, it's out there, Craig. Is that risky? I mean, he's 27. His prime year's ahead of him. I mean, talk a little bit about him and the possibility of moving on.
Well, what I would say, I would look at this through the lens of an opposing team looking for a number one goaltender. I'd be phoning. I'd be making all kinds of calls to the Vancouver Canucks if I hear Thatcher Demko might be available. That's number one. Listen, he's had the injuries, and obviously, earlier in the year, he wasn't Thatcher goaltender. He's established himself as a number one goaltender, and to me, the second part of this is, why would the Vancouver Canucks now want to go and create a second weakness? The blue line is already a weakness. Now you're going to go trade your number one goaltender for what? They don't have a number one goaltender in the system. And we talk about the salary cap and what goaltender you're going to be able to get that's better than Thatcher Demko. I think Thatcher Demko's contract is really good. Yeah. I think at 27 years of age, he's really good. I'm not worried about a small sample size of his play or injuries. And I would say that if the Vancouver Canucks trade Thatcher Demko, you know what? They're going to be evaluated hard on their ability to go get not only defenseman, but now a number one goaltender. Not easy to do. And I would say, Rick, that comes with huge, huge risk.
Yeah. Craig, what are your memories of the late Bobby Hull?
It's funny. When my dad was with the Pittsburgh Penguins, I remember a game. I was just a kid. I was in the stands, and I remember Bobby Hull coming down the left wing, playing for the Chicago Blackhawks. I forgot who the goaltender was. But Bobby Hull, all you heard was this cling, cling. And it was he rang it off both posts. And it was like one of these things when you're 7, 8 years old and you're really starting to take an interest in hockey and you're watching somebody shoot the puck. I mean, you heard about Bobby Hull and you're thinking it's something that I'll never forget. And I think of in hindsight, I think about the goaltenders. What did they feel like when Bobby Hull took that big wind up and did it? Listen, Bobby Hull was a great, great hockey player. I mean, he was a unique player with his power, with his skill, 5-time 50-goal scorer. We know all what he did and everything. And, we also know that, as in his off-ice life, it wasn't as glorious. In fact, it was exact opposite of his on-ice glory. And so, we look at the hockey players and we sit down and we say what wonderful players they were. And you know what? The people that are close to Bobby, and I mean, that's something that others and he had to deal with in his life. But as a hockey player, he was a great hockey player. But as we see in every walk of life, as great as you are performing in one area, that doesn't mean you don't have flaws in other areas of your life. And certainly Bobby did have some flaws.
Is there anybody today you would compare him to? Like I think Pavel Bure maybe back in the day, but what about now?
Yeah, well, Pavel was Pavel got the puck and it seemed like he could score at will. And I think that was Bobby. I think the unique thing about Bobby and Gordie Howe was they were tremendous players that played with tremendous amount of power and brawn. Yeah. And they didn't have to flex their muscles, so to speak, but everybody knew that where they wanted to go was going to be very difficult to deter them from. So, when I see players, like I was around Jerome McGinley for a number of years. I think Jerome had that quality. I don't see players like that now, Donnie, that have that power element and the skill element. I mean, Jerome had over 600 goals, but he had that power element. Pav was a great goal scorer, a great skater, but he didn't have that power element. And I don't see players like that today. And Matthew Tkachuk is a different type of player. He doesn't have that shot. His game is more from the dots down. So, uniqueness is what I think about when I think about Bobby Hull. And yeah, there's some scorers like him, but the blend of power and brawn was unique.
They don't make them like they used to in a lot of ways in the case of Bobby. Go on your hike. Enjoy yourself. I know you're on vacation right now, and we thank you for this, Craig. Above and beyond.
Always my pleasure to join you guys.